good day. I hope the day finds you well. Today, we will be looking at an interesting and much contested topic: classes. Namely, class suggestions for new players ahead, both at the tail end of Shadowbringers and carrying over into Endwalker. We will be looking at the following: which class changes Endwalker is likely to bring on, which classes to pick, as well as suggested leveling routes for players looking to get into or immerse themselves further into the game. As always, chapters and timestamps will be provided in the description below. I will start off by saying that a lot of the ideas about what will be brought on in Endwalker remains as speculation, based off of the live letter streamed on the 18th of September. One of the major questions that comes to mind along every major update is whether or not the functional role of the class will change. Final Fantasy XIV is no different, as the classes have changed drastically since Heavensward, both in terms of overall viability and gameplay functionality, be it through addition and removal of abilities or changes in attributes both. For now, the developers have said that they seek to build and expand upon the foundations laid within 5.0, otherwise known as Shadowbringers, and while the list of changes per class were non-exhaustive, it seems like most classes will retain their general playstyle and options, with some possible exceptions made for classes like Summoner and Astrologian, where Summoner will focus more on actual summoning, while the Astrologian is being moved into the pure healer category after the pure/barrier healer split. While every class will be seeing adjustments, the new categorization of pure healers and barrier healers seems to be the most major update, in which both White Mage and Astrologian will become pure healers, while Scholar and the to-be-introduced Sage becoming barrier healers. A split, which of course affects the Astrologian by giving it the effect of Diurnal Sect on a more permanent basis, with some barrier options for neutral sect ability. As I've touched upon before, while its impact on regular play will be functionally minor, Endwalker will change the increase in stats from level 50 to 80, moving away from exponential gain and instead falling onto a path of linear gain. Realistically, this will bring on few changes in terms of game difficulty, as the content will also be adjusted along the way to make sure that we do not experience a loss in relative power. This is possible because most stats follow a linear scaling. However, the elephant in the room are stats like skill speed and spell speed, which some classes rely heavily upon for certain combinations and attack windows, as well as critical hit, which is the only ability that scales exponentially with more significant returns at higher levels. While it, at this point, it's difficult to predict how Square Enix will handle this, they have said that they are making efforts to line most cooldowns up with a 60 and 120 second window, while also tweaking some global cooldowns, so the changes we see in terms of global cooldowns and speed stats might be minimal. As far as critical hit is concerned, it could go a couple of ways. The relative scaling points and thresholds might be adjusted or reworked to accommodate the stat pinch, or we might see an entirely different solution, if any at all. At any rate, when addressing the downscaling, Square Enix has specifically stated that they will make adjustments to maintain balance with consideration for downscaling of various systems, so chances are that the stat scaling mechanics will be adjusted. But regardless of whether or not they will be, who will a change in critical hit affect? The easy answer is any build that relies on critical hit. However, builds like Crit Paladins and Crit Healers who run critical healing and mitigation as part of their kit might want to keep an eye on their values and adjust accordingly. Most classes start off as a base class and can unlock their advanced jobs at level 30, where Gladiator turns into Paladin, Marauder to Warrior, Conjurer to White Mage, Arcanist to Scholar and Summoner, Lancer to Dragoon, Archer to Bard, Pugilist to Monk, Rogue to Ninja, and Thaumaturge to Black Mage. Furthermore, the game has a couple of unlockable classes that start as their advanced vocation, like Astrologians, Dark Knights, Gunbreakers, Samurais, Red Mages, and Dancers. As I've touched upon previously, Final Fantasy XIV is based around the idea that one character can have access to every class, and furthermore, the game is balanced around every class being able to complete every piece of content. With the exception for a few progression rating strategies for Ultimate to Savage raids, every single class is viable for all content, with more emphasis on comfort and personal skill, rather than the individual class kits. However, for players who are looking to scaffold their dive into the game or new role a bit further, or to help someone do the same, there are a few old reliables that you might be interested in having a look at. As far as tanking considered, all 4 tank classes have abilities for party damage mitigation, single target mitigation, as well as party healing or party shielding, in addition to invulnerability abilities and damage. But 2 in particular stick out. First and foremost, the Paladin. At the moment, the Paladin has a couple of qualities that puts it ahead. Since Heavenward, Paladin has tripled its amount of damage rotation, namely through the Sword Out buff that enables the heavy hitting skill Atonement, its regular Goring Blade DOT, as well as the magical Requiescat plus Holy Spirit or Holy Circle for single target or AoE damage respectively. This has made a Paladin a heavy hitting tank with involved timing based gameplay. A great array of personal damage mitigation, in addition to the best invulnerability ability in the game, lets the Paladin perform confidently as a main tank in any raid. Several party mitigation options such as Cover, Divine Veil, and Passage of Arms, which provides damage reduction and shields to their party, which can be rather helpful ahead of party-wide damage and heavy hits. As well as the fact that the Paladin has one of the strongest heals in the entire game, namely Clemency. While under the effect of Requiescat, the Paladin can instantly cast up to 5 of these back-to-back for massive healing. The heal has a potency of 1200, with an additional 600 applied to yourself if you're healing a party member, allowing for amazing sustain, especially when your combos restore your MP for you. However, this comes at the cost of the Paladin's magical DPS phase. The Dark Knight also sports an impressive array of personal shielding and most of all, sustain, both for hit points and mana points. Coupled with high damage, the Dark Knight has a steady and impactful presence in most fights. Furthermore, the Dark Knight has access to the ability Dark Missionary, which reduces the damage taken by the party by 10% for 15 seconds. Additionally, the Dark Knight has the best shielding ability of any tank, the Blackest Night, which is an instant cast that provides the target with a shield totaling 25% of the target's max health, and has a cooldown of 15 seconds, which alone makes the Dark Knight one of the best party mitigation tanks the game has to offer. As far as healers are concerned, before heading into Endwalker, there are 3 choices, namely Scholar, White Mage, and Astrologian. While there is currently no telling how complex or effective Sage will be when introduced, at the moment, the biggest bang for your buck is the White Mage. As the game's de facto pure healer, the White Mage has powerful single target and party-wide heals, both on and off global cooldowns, which makes reactive healing much easier for those not yet used to the role or a fight. Furthermore, the White Mage has access to not 1, not 2, but 3 abilities that affect their MP usage and regeneration. With Assize damaging opponents, healing party members, and regenerating MP, Lucid Dreaming regenerating MP, and Thin Air nullifying MP cost for a short duration, the White Mage has near limitless MP. Furthermore, the White Mage has a very simple yet powerful damage rotation, consisting of only 2 attacks and a couple of buffs, which, when coupled with their kit, makes their DPS phases almost risk-free in terms of party survivability, as they can quickly pop off several instant cast of global cooldown healing abilities. Because of this, while both Scholar and Astrologian has strengths that the White Mage does not, the White Mage brings reliability and a certain ease of play that allows it great leeway in all but the hardest fights, which anyone new to the role can get great use out of. Finally, there are the DPS roles. The split that the healers are about to go through has always been there for DPS since A Realm Reborn, now having 3 classifications, namely Melee DPS, Range DPS, and Range Casters. As far as Melee DPS are concerned, the Samurai is probably the easiest entry point. Currently, without party buffing abilities, the Samurai is a selfish DPS with intuitive damage rotations capable of dealing great damage. Combined with the lack of the greatest melee DPS weakness, positional abilities, coupled with great displacement abilities and the fact that it is picked up at level 50, makes the Samurai a great simple choice for most new melee DPS players. For range DPS, you have great damage and buffer options like the Machinist and Bard. However, the one that stands out the most is the Dancer. Capable of performing well simply by pressing whichever button lights up as a combo, coupled with its dance partner buff and several options for offensive, defensive, and mitigating party buffs, and great mobility, lets the Dancer perform well under most any circumstance. Furthermore, the Dancer starts off at level 60 and is a great starting point for any aspiring ranged DPS main. Finally, the Magic Casters have fun choices such as Summoner and Black Mage, but the easiest to get into at this point is probably the Red Mage. While it has a mechanic that requires you to balance white and black magic cast as part of its core kit, its access to dual cast, which, after having casted one spell in a regular manner, lets you cast the next ability instantly, allows for a combination of high ability uptime and a lot of movement. Couple this with their gap closing abilities, the Red Mage has a far easier time of mid-fight dodging than the Summoner or the Black Mage, adding to its survivability. On top of this, the red mage has access to both healing and resurrection abilities, thus becoming a great asset to the party both defensively and offensively. As a final plus, the red mage starts at level 50, thus making your path to 1890 that much shorter. With these in mind, what should you play? Once more, I'd like to reiterate that every class is viable, and no class choice invalidates you as a player or a party member. However, I have recommendations both for new players and long-term players looking to expand. For a new player wanting to get each role to the endgame as fast as possible, start off and play through the game as an Arcanist going into Scholar. This will also level up Summoner, giving you both a healer and a DPS as a 2-for-1 deal, as well as the healer's shorter Q times. When you can, pick up Gunbreaker, which starts off at level 60, which puts you 20 or 30 levels away from full max lineup for all 3 main roles. For those who want one class of each sub-role, including role splits as fast as possible, start and play through the game as a Lancer into Dragoon or Pugilist into Monk. Assuming you do your daily roulettes, you will hit max level well before you hit the end of the story. At this point, pick up the Dancer and Limsa Lominsa and play until you hit max level, which should be around the end of the story. This saves you a fair few dungeon queues as DPS. At this point, pick up the Arcanist and level them up as a Scholar once you hit 30. You will have far shorter Q times while leveling both a Barrier Healer and a Magic Caster at once. Once at 80, pick up Astrologian and Ishgard and play it until level 80, which covers a pure healer, come Endwalker. Finally, pick up the Gunbreaker in New Gridania and level it from 60 to 80, and there you have all the sub-roles covered, with minimal time spent in DPS queues, which will no doubt get longer with the introduction of the side class in Endwalker. As my third, final recommendation for those who aren't too bothered with rushing to the endgame, but rather want a mix of ease of play and party reliability, pick up the Gladiator into Paladin, the Conjurer into White Mage, the Red Mage, and the Dancer. These 4 classes will allow you a lot of leeway in your general gameplay, where the Paladin functions well both as a main tank and an off-tank with good damage, mitigation, and healing. The White Mage has simple, high-impact kits able to adjust to most fights, while the Red Mage and Dancer both have great mobility and utility. And that is it for now. This has been a new kind of video for me, as it has a lot of opinion based off qualified guesses. Still, I hope the video was able to help you. As always, if you enjoyed the video and want more, make sure to like and subscribe, and feel free to leave thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. As always, I hope you have a great day and a great week. Have a nice one!